Magic in the Morning with No Mercy, 8:36. Mike Barrett in the studio. We mentioned good policies. It's a weekly chat with Barrett Insurance Agency. Morning to you, friend.
Morning.
Drive in?
Fine.
Okay.
Fine, yeah.
Drive out yesterday?
Fine.
Really?
Drive out yesterday.
Well, when I was headed home, we had some ice.
It was, we went to the Academy Hilltopper girls basketball game, and it was a little slippery, but not too bad. Not too bad.
Okay. So, Mike, we've had many a chats here on Tuesday mornings, and I can't remember what this is. So,
Nice.
No, yeah. I'm not the most educated insurance person. I'm not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be the guy here learning, just like our listeners.
Yep.
In the past, we've talked about a thing called an umbrella
Yes.
policy, and I was trying to get my head. I couldn't remember what it was. So what
I'm
do you
here to
say?
help. How's that?
Let's do a redo. What in the world is an umbrella insurance policy?
Well, let's give you first some comparisons of sorts, right? So you have fire insurance to protect your investment in your property, whatever it may be, whether it be $150,000 to $1 million or more. The fire insurance, or the hazard insurance, as some people call it, is to protect you from financial turmoil, from losing something that you've got so much money into. Auto insurance, physical damage coverage, again, going to protect you from having turmoil, out-of-pocket expense if you have damage to your car. Flood insurance, same thing. If flood comes through, want to make sure you are protected financially. So what is an umbrella? Well, we talked about flood, fire, car accidents. Let's talk about your wallet. Let's talk about protecting your wallet.
Yeah, nothing in it.
So, so an umbrella policy is really what I call a catastrophic liability policy. All right. So it is called an umbrella because it sits above everything else. So in the world of personal lines insurance, where we're talking home, auto, boats, motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-side ATV, UTV, whatever you want to call them, snowmobiles, and so forth, those are all personal lines policies, and a personal lines umbrella would be above those. So that in an event, and it does happen, unfortunately, but in an event where something pretty bad happens, whether it be triggered from your homeowner policy for a liability claim for bodily injury or property damage that you caused to another that's covered under that, or whether it be from a horrific automobile accident, snowmobile accident, ATV accident, boating accident, if the liability limits on those policies that you selected become exhausted, meaning all the money's been spent, if you have a $250,000 maximum amount payout and they've hit it, what happens? They go after you personally unless you have an umbrella policy, which then gets triggered, and you can choose an additional $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, upwards of $10 or more million for financial protection. So that's going to prevent you in the case where if you have your limits of liability exhausted on a policy, that you don't then become personally responsible. Because remember, the liability in your home, auto, and everything else, that's a maximum limit they're going to pay. In today's world, God forbid you're driving down the road, become distracted, or it's a slippery situation or what have you, or somebody darts out in front of you. If it's a situation where you either horrifically injure somebody in an accident or worse, kill them, you're going to have some serious litigious expenses coming your way, and your typical liability under your policy will not be optimal protection.
Okay, so then, all right, now it's starting to make sense to me. So in one of our recent conversations, we talked about how $50,000 in automobile collision insurance isn't really
liability. We're talking, that's liability. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you hit somebody's brand new, and the only reason I know this price because a friend of mine has one, a $91,000 Ford Lightning.
Yeah.
Okay. Just using that for an example because I know the price of it, and that $50,000 is exhausted. Is that where this umbrella?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. The umbrella is to protect you from having to become personally liable. So it's going to prevent things like people going after your bank account, people going after your assets, putting liens or judgments on you, which can happen. Liability, it does not take long for it to go really high. The good news is it doesn't happen frequently. You don't hear about this in the news every day. It happens every day, but you don't hear about it. So that's why it's not that well known. But there's 3 types of umbrella policies that are readily available. There is the personal umbrella policy, which again would be above your home, auto, recreational vehicles and so forth, secondary home and that. Then there's the business umbrella for business owners to have an additional liability protection that would protect them from financial turmoil if something was to be horrific. Think about a, commercial auto policy or business owner's policy, commercial package policy. You could have an extra $1 million or more of liability there. Then there's a farmer's umbrella that's available for farming operations, where, for your farm or mini farm, gentleman farm, whatever the company may call it, if you have an agricultural exposure, you would be eligible for a farm umbrella. And it'd be the same thing, $1 million or more in additional coverage. All these umbrella policies have what they call some retention, aka deductible. So like in the case of a umbrella policy for me, I have an umbrella. I have $1 million personal lines umbrella. And if my auto insurance hit the max limits and my umbrella kicked in, I would have to self-insure myself for $250. Pretty small taters considering that they'd have the rest of that $1 million available to me. So, it's important to know how to protect yourself. And none of us want this to happen. We all think it's not going to happen to us until it does. Just like you think about all that flooding in California right now. That's just devastating. Mudslides and flooding in California is just unbelievable with all those storms. And these are all people who built these beautiful properties never thinking it would happen to them, and it has.
And it never rains in California.
It never rains in California.
So I'm going to go back to, you referenced business. Now, I'm going to use the only experience I've ever had with jury duty, was a person had slipped on a floor in a supermarket. Okay. The injuries were way less than what they were looking for in the courtroom.
Right.
Is that where?
That's where we're going. That's where we're going. People, and I hate to say this, but there is opportunity sometimes when injuries occur, right? So people sometimes kind of swinging for the fence. But there's litigious activity going on there. What's going to happen is you're going to have lawyers sued up. And even if, the cost of those lawyers comes out of your liability protection, so you need to, the cost of a lot of companies will reserve the right to protect you and not have it come out of that limit. But, it's a slippery slope. So, the truth be told is that an umbrella policy is a really inexpensive way to provide that extra thicker layer of protection on top of everything. Let's say in the example of a typical husband and wife situation. So you've got a husband and wife and a child who's not driving. I guess I'm using myself as an example. But I have, a vehicle or two vehicles and a house. I'm paying about $200 a year for $1 million of additional protection. Not a bad thing. Do you hate paying for insurance and thinking you'll never have to use it? Of course you do, but it's one of those things where if you have it when you need it, it's priceless.
Well, the way we've always referenced it, they call it accident for a reason.
Yeah, if it was anything else, it'd be called it on purpose.
All right, folks, if you have questions, you can contact Mike.
Yeah, give us a call, 748-5224. You can find us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
Mike, we enjoy you coming in and explaining the many, many, many angles of insurance.
And NEK Can, real quick, Snowball coming up in February. Go to nekcan.org or our Facebook page to learn more.
Well, we can talk about it next week.
Okay.
All right, coming up, music from the Jonas Brothers of Magic.